It's been really fantastic. I'm just, really so pleased that it has gone as well as it has, given that we're not in the same space together, and we are, really happy to continue to host. We may have to do this again, but I will look forward to the day when we can all hold hands or whatever. Brenda, I'm handing it over to you to get us started.
Okay, well, we are going to now do our Pinwheel Awards. The Pinwheel Awards were established 3 years ago to recognize individuals and organizations who have contributed to strengthening families and communities through their efforts, especially in the past year, but also for their past contributions. This year's recipients of the Pinwheel Awards are Janet Goodless. She is a member of the Idaho Children's Trust Fund Board. She's been on that board for 15 years. And I've just got to say, I'm so thrilled that I was able to work with her because of incredible information that she gave us and just her contributions. Her previous work also with the Madison School District, Madison Cares, and other community involvement. She's shown incredible dedication to improving the lives of Idaho families.
The second awardee is the Idaho Resilience Project. And this award is really for work that the Resilience Project has done over the last year in developing an organization or network of organizations to bring Idaho together to build resilience. The Resilience Project has accomplished a lot in a year, including creation of the Resilient Idaho collaboration with Idaho Public Television, showing the film Resilience, and putting together a panel of people from around the state to be part of that panel. And for the launching of 2C Kids Succeed, which is an effort to have a place-based initiative to test out a lot of things around strengthening families, around building protective factors.
And another Pinwheel recipient is the Panhandle Health District. They have played a strong role in strengthening families through a variety of strategies, including WIC, 2 home visiting programs, and promoting literacy through collaborations with local libraries.
And Dr. Tom Patterson, for his leadership in encouraging use of ACE and resilience screening among pediatricians for tools for medical practices in Idaho. Tom has been incredibly enthusiastic and passionate about this effort. As he says, he learned a whole new way of thinking about being a doctor from understanding ACEs, and he said he wanted to return his medical degree to the University of Arizona. But he kicked off with other people, but kicked off a learning collaborative statewide that now involves several practices throughout the state who are doing ACEs and resilience screening.
And the Idaho Commission for Libraries for promoting strong families through its network of over 150 libraries throughout Idaho. The Commission's efforts, in concert with library staff in small and large Idaho cities, afford resources to Idaho families that help them learn skills and resiliency to prevent child abuse and neglect.
We're ready for the film. Roll them.
Thank you, Idaho Children's Trust Fund, for this award. We have been working over many years to fight child abuse and neglect in the state of Idaho. We thank my grandkids, part of my grandkids, for joining us today in receiving this award. Thank you.
There's no more noble a cause than protecting the safety and well-being of our children. On behalf of the Idaho Resilience Project and its more than 80 partners, I would like to thank the Idaho Children's Trust Fund for being a recipient of the 2020 Pinwheel Award.
The home visiting programs at Panhandle Health District wish to thank Idaho Children's Trust Fund for this Pinwheel Award. Using nurse-family partnership and parents as teachers curriculums, our home visiting professionals are working hard to improve the lives of vulnerable young families in our communities. Our goals are to improve pregnancy outcomes for first-time mothers, pull families out of the cycle of poverty, empower women to transform their lives and the lives of their children, improve child development, teach parenting skills, prepare children for school success, and prevent child abuse and neglect. Since we started providing services in our communities in 2012, we have served 491 families and 370 children and have grown our programs to cover all 5 northern counties. We are honored to be recognized for the important work we are doing to improve the lives of families, and especially children, in our communities.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Redford, and I'm a Youth Services Consultant at the Idaho Commission for Libraries. I'm thrilled today to accept this Pinwheel Award from the Idaho Children's Trust Fund. All across our state, libraries are the heart of their communities, and we know that libraries play an important role in strengthening families in Idaho. Libraries are a place where everyone is welcome and where everyone has access to materials and experiences that can improve their lives and improve the outcomes for their families. For children and for families, the library is a very important resource, and we're just very excited that this award acknowledges all the great work that libraries in our state are doing. So thank you to the Idaho Children's Trust Fund, and we can't wait to dive in and do more with you.
I'm honored to accept this acknowledgement of the work I've done in resilience. I've not done it alone. I'm so proud of the people that I've worked with, all of the people coming together, leaning in for children. It's time that we make a difference, and I thank you all for the work you do, and I thank you for this recognition of my little piece of it. Thank you.
We have some very creative partners, don't we? Am I on mute?
Nope, you're good.
Okay. All right.
Time for the next award.
Yes. Let me pull mine up. The Ed Van Dusen Legacy Award for Exemplary Practice in Child Abuse Prevention, or the ED for short, is an annual award created by the members of the Idaho Children's Trust Fund Board to recognize and reward a particular child abuse prevention effort in Idaho that is creative, innovative, and impacts the community in a positive way by preventing the abuse and neglect of children. Now, Ed Van Dusen might rightly be called the father of the Idaho Children's Trust Fund because his role in getting the organization established back in 1985, after his death in 2009, the Trust Fund's board renamed its board award in his honor.
Roll them. Each year we give the Ed Van Dusen Award to an organization that has exemplified what we think of as the legacy of Ed Van Dusen. Ed was a worker at Health and Welfare who was really the father of the Children's Trust Fund. He helped started back in the early 1980s, and then got the legislature to pass it in 1985. And so we don't want people to forget Ed, because Ed really was a person who personified the prevention work that we continue in his name. This year, the Ed Van Dusen Award is being presented to the Protect Idaho Kids Foundation and its founding director, Bruce Wingate. We have worked closely at the Trust Fund with Protect Idaho Kids for several years, and have been really impressed with the perseverance, focus, and effort to really make the lives of Idaho kids better. So it is my honor to present this award, which we give each year, to Bruce Wingate. Thank you.
First, I want to thank Roger and the Idaho Children's Trust Fund for this award. We have been, as Protect Idaho Kids, around for over a decade, doing various things that help bring families safer and the kids safer here in Idaho. And recently, over the last 5 years, we've been working on the faith-based medical neglect that is really there because of the Idaho laws that have religious exemptions in them, and it allows the parents to deny their children needed medical care even if they're going to die. So we have been trying to change the laws to get those exemptions removed, or at least changed so the kids can be safer and have a happy life and live a happy, safe life. And Roger and Idaho Children's Trust Fund has been with us all the way, helping us try and get these laws changed. So thank you very much, Roger.
Well, now, let's give a big clap if people got their, oh, I guess we can't see anybody do their thing, but clap or put up your claps or however you do it. Applause for everybody. Thanks. Thank you for all that you do. All of you, I'm sure, deserve awards. We just highlight some people to give us incentive to keep moving. So, yay. It is now my honor and privilege to introduce a panel of folks who are going to talk to us about their experiences, and I really appreciate them for being willing to talk about some things that are kind of tough and maybe feel a little vulnerable, and hopefully that we've been able to have that happen throughout this throughout this conference. People have put themselves out there, put their hearts on the line. So I do appreciate that your willingness to do that. These are the folks. Okay, like what are we looking at? Who are going to be doing it. So I'm going to introduce in a minute the moderator, Abby White, who works with CATCH, which is charitable assistance to crap. What? Community? What? Sorry. Charitable assistance to communities homeless. Sorry, I got caught in my tongue for a minute. And then Allison, Amy, Kristina, and Rabekah are here in our office in various rooms. I hope this is going to work so slick, and I think it will. These women have some really powerful stories to tell, and so I don't want to hold us up anymore. Abby, I'm going to hand it off to you to get us started, and I'm going to disappear for a little while.
Great. So at this time, if we can have all panelists share their videos, as well as Abby as moderator.
All right. Hope everyone can hear me okay.
Abby, you sound great.
Okay. Well,
others are coming in. One more.
I'll just jump in, and I see the mom's starting to pop up on my screen here. Okay. Hi, guys. This
Let me
is,
do
yeah,
one more tech thing, Abby. Sorry to interrupt. Y'all, if
okay.
you want to have that speaker view, that sometimes is helpful because you can see everybody on the screen, or just remember you can do the speaker view to bounce and see the face of speaker. Perfect.
Yay, it sounds
You're
like our
on.
tech person. Okay, I think we're on now. All right, well, hi everyone that's out there. Again, my name's Abby White. I'm a case manager with Catch, and we've been invited to come and speak a little bit about the complexity of parenting when you're without housing. And so I was honored to have these other moms join me this morning who have gone through the Catch program or are still in the program, who were brave enough to be willing to share a little bit about their experience. So we'll go ahead and get started. Rabekah, do you want to just tell us a little bit about your family and about your kiddo and his age, and we can get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay? Perfect. I am so happy and honored to be here. I'm Rabekah. I have a 2.5-year-old little boy. His name is Elwin. I am a single parent. I had this all laid out in my head of what I was going to say. So of course,
what makes you most proud?
What makes me most proud? Oh my goodness. My son is so smart. He's 2.5, and he is so incredibly intelligent. He knows all of his shapes. He knows how to spell his name. He knows a hexagon, the difference between a hexagon and a pentagon. And he is so happy, and he is so social. He loves people. And one thing that really absolutely makes me proud is we live in an area where there's a lot of diversity with refugees and all sorts of and like Muslims, and he calls everybody his friend, and he does not see anybody based on color or what they're wearing, and he loves all people. And so that is what I am most proud about.
Well, thank you so much for being here this morning and
thank you
sharing a little bit about Elwin, and we'll come back to you for sure for more info about you. Amy, do you want to tell us a little bit about your family and your kiddos?
Good. Okay, now?
Yes.
I have my 19-year-old daughter, Jayla, and my 15-year-old son, both now living with me again. And for a long time, all three of us were split up, and we're back together now. What makes me more proud about my kids is how resilient they are. It doesn't matter what happens, or even just good days or bad days, they always bounce back and just keep moving forward and always try to stay positive. So, yeah.
Awesome. How about you, Allison? Tell us a little bit about your family.
Hi. First of all, thank you guys for having me. So I have a 3-year-old daughter, Eliza, a 7-year-old daughter, Sophia, and a 9-year-old son, Johnny. And what makes me proud is how kind and loving my kids are to everybody. They've obviously been through a lot. They're incredibly smart, and they look out for each other, and they're just so happy. And I love that about them. Of course, it's a little hard to hear.
Awesome. How about you, Kristina? Tell us a little bit about your family.
My name's Kristina, and I have 3 kids, but 2 are currently with me. I have a 15-year-old and a 2-year-old, and what makes me proud is the way that they take everything in, and you can always tell that they feel so blessed and that they're so happy. Now that our life has changed for the better and we're moving forward, and sometimes you can see the concern and the anxiety in certain situations, especially with my 15-year-old. But like she said, they bounce back. They're so resilient. It's astounding.
Yeah, kids are so strong. It's amazing. So let's talk a little bit about what led to your loss of housing. So kind of what events took place that caused you to lose housing, and what did you do? Where did you go? Where did you go for help? Rebecca, do you want to start us off with that?
Yeah. So what led to me losing housing? I was homeless. I experienced homelessness before I had my son, and I really struggled with it as a single parent or as a single person. And it started with just mental health issues, and just not really getting that under control, I guess, so to speak. And then, as a kid also, going through, death and stuff like that. I think that really played a huge part in not feeling like I was capable of stability and stuff like that. And I also experienced that kind of stuff growing up as a child. And then once I had my son, or then, I'm also a recovering addict. And so once I had gotten clean and sober, that's when I became pregnant 9 weeks into my, I was in my addiction and I was 9 weeks pregnant, and then I got sober. And we had moved back to the homeless shelter, and and so I experienced living in the shelter with my newborn infant, and while I was pregnant. And what was the other question? I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Abby.
That's okay. So yeah, who did you go to for help? How did you get connected with housing?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I was escaping a domestic abuse situation, fleeing from domestic abuse. And so I was accepted into the WCA. And so I was staying at City of Lights. And then we moved into the WCA. And so, staying there. And then that's really honestly what started and got the ball rolling with Catch, was through the WCA program. And so, yeah, that's pretty much we've been in our housing for over 2 years, and are in our same home for over 2 years, which is a huge deal. Stability and maintaining that stability and that normalcy for my son and I. So yeah,
I'm so glad you got connected and that you're able to stay in the same place. That's awesome. So let's see, Amy, how about you? What do you think led to your housing crisis, and where did you go for help?
My housing crisis started with my mental instability and not seeking out help. But then when I did seek out help, I didn't follow through. And a lot of it was also like financially, budget wise, I was never taught any of that. And so I never put it into my life. And so I didn't make that matter. I didn't make myself matter. I didn't make what was important matter. And then addiction happened, and then I'm a recovering addict on top of that. And then I went from just couch hopping and staying with friends to sleeping in my car to camping forever because there was nowhere else to stay, hotels, motels, and then I did go and try for Catch. I went and I started all the process. And then once it came to, okay, it's time and you can get a house, then I got scared and I can't do this, and I stopped engaging and I stopped doing anything and I backed away. Because that fear of I'm not going to be able to do this. The stability is amazing and I love it, but that fear also comes that I can lose it at any point in time too. And so that was a big part. And so I stepped away, and then a year later, I lived at City Lights for a year and a half. And then I was ready and I knew I could do it and I was all right to do this. And so I started the Catch program again, and I followed through and I made it work, and Abby did great. And so, yeah.
You did great. You are amazing. Yeah, I think that just speaks to how everyone has their own journey, and that if they're trying to get stable, sometimes the first go around, the right pieces aren't in place and you're just not ready. And then you know, you were ready the second time, and just to see you stable now is such a joy. So thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to go to Allison. Allison, can you share a little bit about what led to your housing crisis and kind of where you turned to for help?
Yeah, so we ended up homeless. I'm also in recovery. I was not taking care of my mental health. And at the time, my ex-husband, who's now in prison, was actively stalking me. So I was dealing with a lot of the same things. Like, I hadn't been taught how to manage money. I took care of my little sisters a lot growing up. So being an adult was something that I figured out how to do by myself. And really, we ended up homeless due to financial things. It was a lot of trying to get a hotel room so that I could make sure I could give my kids a bath. That was hard. And then it ended up with us sleeping in my van. And I actually ended up in the WCA also. And they set me up with Abby at Catch, and it made a big difference. Meeting with her and having someone believe in me and tell me that I'm worth it. So we've been in our home for going on a year and signing a lease again for another year.
Yeah, you are so worth it, and so are your kids. And so it's
Yeah,
such a, it's so, yeah. And I see some people asking questions that are popping up that are viewing this. So for those of you that don't know, Catch is a short-term housing support program. So we help families experiencing homelessness regain housing, and we provide case management and rental assistance. So I'm sorry that I didn't explain that more in the beginning, but that's a little bit about Catch. Okay, so Kristina, can you share a little bit about what led to your loss of housing and kind of how you bounced back?
So I was living in Idaho. Some things didn't work out. And so me and my 2 kids and my ex went to Arizona. Long story short, I met Anaya's dad, and then shortly after that, we were house hopping. We had actually stayed in a shelter in Arizona called UMOM. But things had happened, and I came back to Idaho when I was 5 months pregnant, escaping domestic violence. And then I stayed with my brother for an amount of time, and it took me 2 years to finally find Catch. But I don't know. It was hard, and I'm very thankful that I found Catch and I got that appointment, and I went in and you guys were actually able to help me, because it felt like at that point in time I was constantly trying and I just felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. And then Catch came and I started climbing the stairs without them falling back down. And so I'm very thankful for Catch.
Yeah, and
It's a
you
big
did
life changer.
Yeah, and you have climbed so high. You've done the climbing. So I'm so glad that you were able to get connected. So parenting is hard. We all know that. You know, I'm a mom and I feel like I'm getting it wrong constantly. I feel, you know, a lot of pressure to be a perfect mom, and it's just, and you know, parents is, you know, out there, it's a stressful job. And on top of that, dealing with a housing crisis, I can't imagine how much more difficult parenting would be without stability. Can you share a little bit about what were the biggest challenges that you faced as a parent in terms of parenting when your housing wasn't stable? You know, did you see your kids act differently? Were you doing things differently? So Rebekah, do you want to share?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, you know, I dealt with a lot of the mom guilt, you know, because I was sober, and I've been sober in this coming April, it'll be 4 years. My son's never had to see me in that state of mind. But at the same time, I had such guilt and shame that I had a brand new baby in a homeless shelter. You know, I mean, and the fact that like I felt like I wasn't giving him like his best life, you know, or like I didn't feel like I was protecting him as much, or you know, and with City of Lights homeless shelter, you are required to be out of the shelter through the day, so like I think it's like you have to be out by 8 something in the morning, and then you can't check in until about 4 p.m. And so I would have to leave during the day with a brand new baby, and I mean I would walk around, we'd go to the library is such a blessing and like such a saving grace, because that was a warm, safe spot that we could go and I could just be with him. And so I think a lot of my things, and my son also, I had an emergency C-section, so I was recovering from that. And so, you know, I think that one of the biggest challenges, and I think it really honestly affected the way that I had bonded or was able to bond with my son. I think that, you know, on top of like all of the insecurities that I was dealing with, you know, on top of getting sober and like doing it by myself, because I hadn't reconnected with my family yet. My mom hadn't moved here yet. She was still out of the country. And so I think that a lot of that had a huge impact on the way that I was trying to bond with my son. And I wasn't, you know, I think that the biggest barrier honestly was just like the mom guilt and the shame. Thank goodness and thank the Lord that the WCA and the City of Lights, and WIC, I always was able to feed him. I was always able to have diapers. And so, you know, he never went without necessities, you know, but it still had such a huge impact on, you know, my bonding with him, and that mom shame and the guilt that I'm sure I know every mom has felt before, you know. And so I think that was honestly the biggest struggle that I had to we had to deal with in that time.
Yeah, I see a lot of the other moms nodding in regards to the shame and the guilt. So I think you're definitely not alone in that. Amy, how about you? What were some of the biggest challenges with parenting, and kind of what behaviors did you see from your kids during that time?
Well, my daughter was with her dad. She decided to leave about 9 years old. And so she was with her dad in Twin Falls this whole time. And from homelessness on, when we lost our house, she decided she wanted to leave and go live with him. My son has always been with me. And I have so much of that mom guilt and shame, and still to this day. And he uses it though. They've learned how to adapt and how to use it to get what they need and what they want from me. But then again, you have to look at it as they learned that from me in the first place. So it's like disciplining my kids was a joke. I have no stable way of even following through with the discipline, so why even do it? So that never happened. And then there's so many people in and out of their lives that they're not going to listen to anybody. They're going to do it the way that they want to do it. Or, health wise, we were never eating good. It was always our constant colds, constant flus, always being sick or not following through and going to the doctor and things like that. Or my son would always ride on the guilt and the shame. Oh, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And then okay, we're not going then. A lot of the times my son made which way our life was going. I would ask him all the questions. What do we do now? Where do we go now? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? So I involved him as being part, like he was adulting with me because I wasn't doing it good by myself. So, and it didn't help and it didn't work. And now he still thinks he can do it and it's not working out still. But
yeah, so kind of seeing that them using that against you and having to work through that, so you're not parenting from that source of guilt. And yeah, it makes sense that when you're in a homeless shelter, there really isn't it's not a good environment to discipline in a healthy way. There's no place to send your kid for a timeout, really. I mean, there's other kids running around, other types of parenting styles. And yeah, then also your son, starting to be an adult as well and having to make some adult decisions to help you. And so you seeing that, him having to step into that adulting role too.
Which has caused him at this point, he has so much anxiety just about life in general. Bills, eating, food, cars, gas, just complete life anxiety, and he's only 15. So, it leaves damage, but it's all workable.
Yeah, it can be healed, and kids are resilient. So Allison, how about you? What are some of the challenges that you experienced when you were without housing with your kids in regards to parenting? What behaviors did you see from them?
The first thing that came to mind for me is my now 9-year-old son has autism. So that makes things a little bit difficult to explain to him because he does have communication challenges and things like that. And so when we were newly homeless, like we just had to leave our home, like days prior, he kept saying, go home. And it broke my heart. I can't tell him that we can't go home. He doesn't understand. And just seeing my kids, when it starts to get dark and I know they're not going to have a bed to sleep in, it's a terrible feeling, but that also keeps me going now because I work hard, and every day I know that I'm not going to let that happen to them again.
It's a big motivator to maintain that stability because of how hard it was when you didn't have it. Yeah. Kristina, how about you? What were some of the challenges in parenting that you faced, and what were some of the behaviors that you saw from your kiddos during that time when you were unstable?
So I noticed with Kirsten, my oldest, she started spending a lot of time in her room, or going outside and just basically wanting to be by herself. If you tried to talk to her, it was just short and simple, one word answers or as little as possible. And she's definitely not like that. She's like sunshine with a mouth. And like she's always talking, she's always happy and bubbly, and it definitely wasn't her. And so I think that was my biggest motivator, to leave and get out of the situation that we were in, because I didn't like seeing how dark and closed off she was. And it didn't really click to me how much of the domestic violence and stuff she was actually watching and taking in and hearing, that I guess how bad it was affecting her. And so when I finally saw that, we put clothes in a backpack, put shoes on our feet, and left.
Yeah. It sounds like your kids just aren't themselves, when they're going through a crisis. And it sounds like she really was becoming more withdrawn and kind of shutting down, and that wasn't the daughter that you knew.
Exactly. I can't hear you.
Thank you. What do you think were some of the lasting impacts on your kids of going through that, or things that you still see now? And if your kids are too young to really remember that time and you don't really see anything yet, that's okay too. But just out of curiosity, what are some things that have still kind of a residual effects of that you're still seeing now? Rebecca, do you want to start us off?
Yeah. So, my son, he was very, very young. So he doesn't remember. He's only 2.5. And so we've been in our house for, oh goodness. Because we had his first birthday. Okay. So we've been in our house. Well, actually, we haven't been in our house 2 years. It might be a year and a half or something, maybe something like that. Anyway, but yeah, he doesn't have I haven't noticed any. He's so young right now. But maybe it could be, now we're just I'm really focusing on parenting and bonding, and trying to make sure that I maintain the stability, instead of like how I grew up as jumping around from house to house after we had moved off the ranch. And so I think right now that's really what we've been focusing on. But he's so young, and I'm so grateful. I'm grateful that he's so young, and he won't. These moms here that have older children that had to go through that. I watched at the homeless shelter, older kids who were able to take that stuff in and know what was going on around them. My gosh, my hats go off to the moms here who had to deal with that, with kids older and going through the homelessness. And it's just, you guys are all so powerful and so strong, and your kids are just insanely amazing. So that.
Yeah. I think this speaks to how important it is to give family stability as soon as possible. And I think it shows that kids will have better outcomes potentially if they're given that stability a little bit early on in life. But also, that's not to say that extra supports and interventions at any point in a kid's life is going to make an impact. And so I'm curious from you ladies, because a lot of people that are watching this are professionals. They are working with families in crisis or individuals or kids. And I think what they'd really like to know from you is what has been really helpful in terms of what services you've received. It can be parenting classes, it can be strategies that counselors have used with you, tips, types of interventions, and also on the flip side of that, what has not been helpful. And it's okay to be honest, because we want to know how we can be better. And so I think it's important for the people watching to know what maybe wasn't very helpful, or when were there moments that you did feel like the response was not sensitive, or you just got a bad taste in your mouth after an interaction with someone that was trying to be helpful. So does anyone want to speak to that? Rebecca, do you want to speak to that first, and then we can go through everybody?
Sure. So when I was at the City of Lights, they did provide classes, parenting classes. And I was a brand new mom. I was doing it by myself. And so I just tried to, and in my recovery program, there were a lot of classes there, not parenting classes specifically. But I just tried to soak all that in. And like, you know, any advice that I could get from the staff at City of Lights, and then also with Abby, with Catch. I mean, at the WCA, my goodness, the Women and Children's Alliance, they had so many different parenting classes, and you know, those were amazing, because I'm new at this. I mean, I'm still new at this. You know, I have no idea what I'm doing. And so, you know, any type of classes or advice or anything that I have received from the Catch program, I mean, I can't really think of specifics. I mean, maybe, you know, yeah, I mean, I don't really have specifics, but I mean, there's just so many people that were just so incredibly supportive. And on the other side of, like, you know, what wasn't helpful, I honestly cannot think of a time where something didn't sit right with me, or people, you know, or where like where I got like a bad taste in my mouth, like you had said, Abby. I never experienced that from anybody. Granted, my son was a newborn, you know, now he's 2.5. And so I never experienced that, but I do know, I mean, I'm looking for, trying to find parenting classes right now to take, because my son is dealing with a little bit of, you know, not anxiety, I guess, but a little bit of aggression. And so, and just like, you know, I want to learn. I want to learn how to be the best mom. And now I'm dad and mom right now. So best parents that I can be, you know? And so I'm constantly trying to like figure out and learn and be the best parent possible that I can be. And so, yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, it sounds like, you know, you had a really positive experience and you were connected with several supports. And so I think that speaks to how important it is it takes a village. Like, it takes multiple agencies coming together, because no one agency can really, you know, be enough. And so
and that's the other thing, like, it's the community, like our community and that we live in. Oh my gosh, everybody here has just, I mean, so amazing. I would never move away from Boise because of this. I mean, the resources and the people are phenomenal. Like, you know, and it definitely takes a village. It takes a village. And oh my gosh, yeah, the support and the loving arms from men and women, and just, yeah, I mean, it's just been incredible.
How about you, Amy? What have been some things that have been really helpful from providers, and then maybe anything that wasn't as helpful?
So as far as helpful, I guess a lot of it had to go with the support system that I had. It wasn't a lot of it wasn't my family. They were there, but they weren't supportive enough or helping or support it at all. I had outside agencies. Abby, the Salvation Army, I did volunteer work for them for 1.5 years, and I still go back and help them, and I still go back and talk to them, and it's just, and St. Mary's Food Bank, different places where I wasn't judged. I wasn't looked down upon. I wasn't looked at differently. This go around, when I actually wanted it and I wanted change and I worked hard for it, and I'm still working hard every day for it, it really did take a whole village to do this. It took all of drug court. It took my counselors there, my mental health counselors, getting my mental health back on track. All good things I've had to deal with and good people I've dealt with during this COVID and the school issues and school everything. I've had one bad experience this whole time with the COVID and the safe hotline for the schools, and you call and you talk to them, and I had the most judgmental person on the phone with me. My stress level went up. My anxiety went out of control, and I couldn't handle it anymore. And I just quit. I didn't engage with them anymore. I won't call them anymore. It's things like that. You have to be more accepting and open to what you're hearing, because everybody is different. Everything is different, and every situation's different. And honestly, with Catch, I would not have been able to do this. And so I'm really grateful for what you've done for me.
Well, I mean, it sounds like for you as well, it's taken kind of multiple people that have been in your corner that are addressing different things that all play into stability. And so I have a question from one of the panelists. It says, was parenting classes helpful when you were experiencing homelessness, like when you were in the thick of it? Or do you think parenting classes are more beneficial when you're stably housed? Does anyone want to speak to that?
Well, for me, my kids are older, but the parenting part of it, after the stability came and we were comfortable with that, then came the part of, now I need to relearn how to parent again. I need to relearn how to do this. I did have drug court pushing parenting classes at that point, but I wasn't ready for it. And that part of getting life lined back up, it wasn't time. And so I waited until after the stability, which I felt for me, it was a lot better. I learned more, I kept more, and I'm using more of what I've learned through it. And
yeah, so it sounds like when you have stability, you're able to really understand better, and your brain is not so in survival mode, and maybe you're more able to receive what you're learning and practice it in a safe, stable environment.
Yeah.
Allison, how about you? What have been some helpful things, like in terms of supports, and maybe things that weren't as helpful for the audience?
I can agree with the other girls about it takes a whole village. Because I know that before I was at the WCA, and I know the first time that I met with you, for example, I wasn't in therapy yet or anything like that. I had been in constant survival mode, and I was scared. I didn't have anybody to talk to, and I know there were a couple times that I just word vomited. And I just I needed that support just to let that stuff out and to feel safe, because just the stress of being alone and trying to make sure your kids have what they need, trying to get out of that situation, it's hard. It's really hard. And regardless of how you got there, everybody has their own story. But it's tough to pull yourself out of. It really is. And especially with kids, it's hard to not make 100% of your focus on your baby or on your kids. And trying to work and get out of that, it's tough. And so it really takes a community. I don't know. I've been sitting here trying to think of a bad experience that I've had. and I really honestly, I can't think of anything. I once I got connected like with Catch, with the WCA, and I graduated from Recovery for Life. I was taking classes there, just doing therapy and connecting with people, and also my therapy for trauma that I had experienced from my ex-husband and things like that. That all made a huge difference.
Yeah, I heard you say, you know, feeling safe, like, and being able to have a space to vent. So I'm glad you said that, because I think no matter what agency you go to, as long as you're feeling safe and not judged, and that you have a space to kind of let it all out to somebody who's listening, I think that can just be in and of itself, you know, a protective factor as you're going through crisis. How about you, Kristina? What has been really helpful for you just in parenting, and any supports you've received, maybe things that have not been as helpful that would be good for us to understand?
So I haven't done any parenting classes or anything like that, so I don't know about that aspect, but I know that when I finally found Catch, I walked into your office and it was immediate. I didn't feel judged. I felt accepted, and like you guys actually cared. You weren't just there. Does that make sense? As for stuff that wasn't helpful, when I tried to get connected, as you know, to counseling, I was judged. I never saw the same person, so I was bounced around, and it was more of me going in once a week to spill out all of the bad stuff to a different person and being judged with it every single week. And it wasn't doing anything but hurting me and hindering me rather than helping me. But since then, with your help, I found a new counselor, and I've been seeing her for 5 weeks now. And I feel like it's an amazing fit, and it helps so much when you actually have an outlet that you feel cares and actually understands, because they've been there. They've gone through what you've been through. Not exactly, but they have an idea and they know. So all of the feelings that you're feeling and stuff, I guess, it's the validation of your feelings, to know that somebody else feels that same way or has felt that same way. It just really helps.
Yeah, and I think that is good for us to remember, is that not every referral is going to be a good referral, and not every counselor is going to be the right fit, and that, you know, you can be harmed by professionals unintentionally, because they have good hearts and they want to support you, but you know, we don't get it right. And so I think that just speaks to your courage to keep trying to find the right person as your support, because I think in order for us to be good parents, we have to get support first. Right. And so if we're not in the healing process, you know, it's hard for us to give from a healthy place to our kids. And so it's like, you know, that analogy of being in an airplane and you need to put the oxygen mask on your face first, because you need air. Like you need to have your bucket filled to be able to give. So it's just, I'm so glad that all of you have been connected or are connected to someone that can just be there for you. So I don't know how much time we have left. I see it's about 11:55. I guess, should I just keep rolling here till 12:15? Great. One thing that I think,
you have actually till about, say, 12:05.
Okay, so we've got about 10 more minutes. One thing that I don't think everyone got to speak to is any behaviors that your kids are still struggling with, anything that your kids are still dealing with from the effects of the housing crisis. And anyone can speak to that.
Yeah, so I've noticed that my daughter, she clams up. I call it the deer in the headlights, right? And she didn't do that before. And so now I've noticed if there's like a awkward situation or a change in the moods, she immediately gets that wall up. And that's something that I'm trying to work through with her on that. But I feel like that's the biggest thing. Sometimes, you know, she is 15, so she's a girl and she's very emotional. Um, so sometimes it's hard to deal with because then I get emotional and I don't like being emotional, you know? But there's been a lot of reassuring and because she'll say things like, I just don't want it to go back to the way that it was. Or, hey, mom, when this happens, it reminds me of this. And so I'm glad that she's finally to the point where she can open up and say, hey, this is how I'm starting to feel. I don't know why I'm feeling this way because nothing's been happening, but, you know, here it is. And I feel like that's helpful.
Yeah, we're all a work in progress, right? And so it's never like a quick fix, and kids are, it's hard parenting, period, no matter what we're going through. So yeah, it does sound, sounds like
Hey, Abby. So can we, so in the comments, can we address one of the questions? Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so one of the questions that I'm reading right now is I'm not sure who sent it, but it says, how can I support you women right now, and what trainings should I provide to my teachers that reflect your shared experiences and resources? And that's from, I don't know who that's, Malia. So I don't know in what that regards or anything.
Yeah, do you want to speak to that?
She's a Head Start teacher, so in Twin Falls.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So yeah, if I mean, I honestly have no idea how to respond to that. I just.
Yeah, does anyone want to respond to that? Like, I think a lot of people watching want to know what they can do right now, or places they can refer their families to, or ways that different agencies can just work better together, because it sounds like a lot of you are in multiple agencies or have been. Is there a way that we can collaborate better? Is there trainings that you would recommend we do? Any advice for the audience would be great.
So a big one for me is my parents never taught me budgeting or anything about financials or anything like that. If it has to do with money, you get it and you spend it. So once I got with Abby and then the budget worksheets and working on money, and after my stability came and then the budgeting came, then it's like life got normal, if that's what you want to call normal, but budgeting was a big part of it. And I think that was one of the lesser things that I saw from everyone that I was getting assistance from, but it is that was a big part for me.
I have something too. So at the WCA, they do a support team meeting, and you can invite just people that you have, your support group, and also like your counselor who's at the WCA will be there, and things like that. And I mean, even if it was done this way, like over Zoom, just connecting the supports that you have, and having all of that right there, and coming up with a game plan together is really helpful. That just popped in my head. So I don't know, like, I think if places like did it that way, that would be helpful a lot.
I love that idea, like, because we're all a team, and so if there's some way that we can all like do a Zoom meeting or meet in person when COVID's over, when it's over. Yeah, just, it sounds like just having your team all on the same page would really help you, so that we're not giving you different messages, or, you know, making sure that we're filling a niche that needs to be filled for your care. Any other
tips.
There was a question. Okay. There was a question a while back about how did you change your self-esteem to feel self-worth? I don't know if anybody wants to field that.
Sobriety, being in recovery. And also, like I said before, therapy, because being in an abusive relationship, you're made to feel like you don't have worth and that you can't do it. And just having therapy to be strong and realize who you are as a person again. And yeah, just staying in recovery, all of those things for sure.
I'd like to add something to that as well. So for me, I know that absolutely, if you are in recovery, absolutely, definitely, doing that. Also, my thing I really tried to focus on. I mean, I ended up having to get rid of, not having to, but I chose to get rid of like all my social media. And stuff like that, so that my mind wasn't occupied with all of these, you know, negative things or like, and all that stuff. And I mean, I'm still that way. I still don't have social media because of that reason. For me, it works for me. But also, I started focusing every day on doing esteemable acts. Because for me, I knew that in order to gain self-esteem, I had to do esteemable acts. And so I'd start really small, and I do like the little things, you know, like, I mean, just like basic little things, like at the shelter, like give my son a bath at the shelter, you know, just like little minute things. And then like, you know, get in contact, meet with my caseworker or case manager, Abby at Catch, you know, like doing these little things, they slowly, gradually build up your self-esteem, for me. And also surrounding myself with people who are successful or who want to better their lives, and make sure that that is the main focus of like the people that I excuse me, do surround myself with, is like people who are positive and who are not judgmental, or who are not, you know, beating me down, you know, emotionally, verbally, whatever, on my past or whatever. And just like people that really do support. And that's what I love about like the Catch program, the WCA, you know, my recovery program, is that, you know, they all are so supportive and they just want people to better their lives. And I think that that's also a huge thing, is like surrounding yourself with just supportive people, you know, and making sure that you do surround yourself with the right people.
Kristina, you wrote a beautiful response in the comments. I don't know if you want to say it, but it was really a good response to that question about self-esteem.
Yeah, so I don't know. I was sitting there thinking about the person that I used to be. And what I mean by that is, you know, graduating from high school early, having 2 jobs, having a car, having my own house, to the person that was sitting there thinking about all of this stuff and trying to think about how I can get back to the person that I used to be, because I didn't like the person that I had become in the relationship that I was in. It was like I changed myself to adapt, I guess, to the relationship and the things that I was going through. And I really lost myself. So I just thought about all of that and all of the drive and independence and stuff that I used to have. And I don't know, pulled it up from the depths and said, here I am again, and started over. I don't know how else to put that. I missed the person that I was, and so I brought her back.
And you are beautiful, and I'm so glad that you are finding yourself again.
Thank you, Abby.
I think we just have maybe another minute. Let me take an opportunity just to say thank you. I know I've said that over and over to you gals, but it takes a lot of courage to speak about your experience, and it's inspiring to me as a human, as a mom, as a woman, and so I'm just in awe of you all. And you know, best of luck to you all as you continue on your journey. Roger, is there anything else you want to say, or any other panelists as we transition?
I just want to, I hope you've read some of the chat, because, you know, people have been incredibly supportive, and I know are very honored, I think, to hear your stories and to, you know, and your willingness to share what, you know, have been some hard times, and then your recoveries through those. And, you know, that comes across so clearly. And so we will save these, we're saving these chats. So, so we'll send them over to Abby, and she can get them out to folks. I mean, it just, you know, these would be good things. Hopefully they're supportive things. You would find them supportive in other days when maybe things aren't as great as you want them to be. So anyway, I just want to really appreciate you, and I know the group that's here, and this is where I wish all of us were really here to, you know, clap, but that's, you're hearing that. Hopefully you've again read some of these, you know, some of these comments that people have made. So I really want to thank you for this, and thank you for bringing this conference, you know, basically to a close. And so I appreciate your, you know, we have over the years had some amazing people sit, you know, where you are, kind of, and, you know, talk about their experiences, and it has been so powerful. And I think for a lot of the people who, you know, do provide services, work with families in crisis and so on, you know, it's really helpful to them to hear what is, maybe what isn't, you know, the most helpful things that we could be doing, because we do this, you know, hopefully out of love, and, you know, in our belief that, you know, all people can heal, and our commitment to, you know, to creating the kind of changes that just make this a better world. Geez, you know, our kids are, you know, what happens with our kids and how they go forward is what this is all about. I mean, you know, we provide this platform, but then from there it's, you know, it's onward for them. So hopefully that's, and thank you for raising great kids too. And yeah, all of us struggle. All of us struggle. It isn't about being a perfect parent. It's about keeping at it. So thanks again. I guess I'm just ready, I guess, for all of us to say goodbye to everybody for the next while. Just just to give you a little bit of background, a lot of people have asked if we have the recordings and some of the materials and all of that, and all of those will be up on our website and on our YouTube channel. We'll get all that stuff to you in an email in the next, well, next week sometime, I suppose, maybe this afternoon, but probably not. So we'll probably try to get you some stuff by next week, and get all that stuff up. And let me see what else I want to say. Just thank you for all that you do. I know that everybody out there is, you know, putting in a lot of effort, and thanks for taking the time to be here, because, you know, all of us together also makes a difference. And, you know, sometimes we don't get as much opportunity to do that. I have felt like we were here together, and I hope you did too. You know, it's been sort of, it's always strange, or it is strange, but it is not, it's getting to be less strange. And I suppose that's a good thing. I just thought I would leave you with this poem that I read at the beginning of it, because I think it's a good charge for us leaving, that, you know, we said that our work was about change, and about, you know, about children, and about things that, you know, we can make a difference in the world for families and kids in our communities. So I'm just going to read this to you, and then I'm going to wave goodbye, I guess. We'll just say that. So what if 2020 isn't canceled? What if 2020 is the year we've been waiting for? A year so uncomfortable, so painful, so scary, so raw, that it finally forces us to grow. A year that screams so loud, finally awakening us from our ignorant slumber. A year we finally accept the need for change, declare change, work for change, become the change. A year we finally band together instead of pushing each other further apart. 2020 isn't canceled, but rather the most important year of them all. Let's go out and do it, y'all.
That was amazing.
Bye, everybody.